You're absolutely right. A lot has changed in 2022. I remember how we started the year in January when issuance windows were extremely easy. I know we as ESM issued a 30-year bond against 70 basis points, and back then bills were priced minus 70 basis points. And just a month ago, we were pricing 6-month bills in plus 2% area. So the world has indeed changed tremendously. But what is for me reassuring is that all Eurozone countries, including Italy, which you mentioned, all have solid access to capital markets. Investors believe in the Eurozone, and we have seen that there is a lot of European financing still available, whether it's through NextGen EU or the ESM as different toolkits.
Fascinating piece. I want to talk about toolkits, and the ESM was a key part of the toolkit, has been a part of the toolkit, and I spent many a happy day chatting with Klaus Regling about this before he's gone into a fantastic retirement from the ESM as well. But there was a piece, and you would have seen this, Kalin, just a couple of weeks ago, and it was from the Financial Times, and the headline says it all. Eurozone's redundant bailout fund needs a revolution. And they're talking about you. They're talking about the ESM as well. And I kind of understand where they're coming from as well, because the ESM hasn't been something that's very popular with people who found themselves in some form of market stress. And when I say people, I mean sovereigns.
So the ESM is a little bit like a fire department, right? You don't close a fire brigade when there is 1 or 2 years no fire. And if we see that the current crisis, the COVID crisis, but also the energy crisis, is a completely different crisis than the Eurozone sovereign crisis we had a decade ago. Back then, spreads were much wider and countries needed to resort to the ESM because they had no access to capital markets anymore. Now, in this crisis, that didn't happen. All countries, all 19 countries of the Eurozone, soon 20 with Croatia joining in January, have access to financing, and investors buy their bonds on the capital markets. And maybe to add one thing, we were part of the solution for the COVID crisis with our pandemic crisis support for 240 billion, and it did exactly for what it was designed for, to create market trust. It is designed after the IMF precautionary lines, which are there to create market trust, but not to be drawn upon. And the PCS was open for 2 years. It will close at the end of this year. And it was successful because it calmed markets and it didn't have to be used.
Can I ask you about the Italian ratification then? Because it seems to me that that is the elephant in the room at this point for the evolution of the ESM into something more flexible, perhaps, in the management of these crises when they emerge. The Italians are very reluctant to proceed with the reform. How do you convince them that it's in their interests at this stage? Because they clearly have valid concerns about the implications for their own national debt.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And let me start first with the good news that the German Constitutional Court 10 days ago already approved the ESM treaty, and now it has to go to all the national procedures, but Germany will be ready to sign soon. So we will have 2 countries left. One is Italy, as you mentioned, but also Croatia will need to do the ratification beginning of 2023 because they will be the 20th Eurozone member. Italy has committed to ratify, and it will probably now take a bit of time in order to get there. But they have also seen the benefits of an ESM in creating financial stability to the Eurozone. If the ESM wasn't there, we might have been in a much deeper crisis after the Eurozone crisis. And what I mentioned about the pandemic crisis support, I think that is really unique. I've been traveling around the world this year, and investors from Singapore to Norway said, well, the PCS is really what the market needs. And a big statement from the ESM that we are there to support the Eurozone, that countries always have access to cash. And if needed, the ESM will be used. But it's actually really good if the ESM is not used, because we are successful when the ESM is not lending, and that therefore countries have access to capital markets independently.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.